and you're watching NDTV 24x7.
Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. The one big subject all week long has been black money and how do we get it back from abroad, and more specifically this entire question about those 627 names on a particular list and whether that should be disclosed and what the consequences should be if it is disclosed in one way or the other. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the technicalities of what has actually happened this week. I'm sure you know. We are going to actually on The Big Fight look a little ahead. What can be done? What should be done? Should we be disclosing names? How do we get the black money back at all? That's the broader question that we're going to be looking at in some detail on The Big Fight right now. I spoke to Mukul Rohatgi and I'm going to be playing for you what he actually said on the entire subject of what he's been doing, what the government has been doing. Here with us on this particular, on the show right here in the studio, we do have Pinky Anand, who's the additional Solicitor General, will be telling us what the government is doing and why it's doing whatever it's doing. Dr. Ajay Kumar, spokesperson of the Congress party, may well be making the point that the government is doing exactly what the UPA did, which may not be that much. Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, who has just written a letter to the Prime Minister urging him to do a lot more than he is doing right now. So we'll get your viewpoint in as well. Mohan Guruswamy, and we have Ved Jain with us, who's the chairman of the National Council on Direct Taxes and has come out with some very interesting suggestions as to how we can actually get black money back. And we are being joined by a couple of people with very, very, very strong views on the subject. Prashant Bhushan, senior advocate of the Supreme Court, who's been really spearheading a lot of the drive to try and get some of this back. And Prasenjit Bose, who not just feels that black money is bad, but presumably feels that anybody having foreign bank accounts in any case should be, holed up or beaten up or something like that. I began by really asking Mukul Rohatgi the question of whether what exactly is the stance and what the government is saying?
See, very, very strictly speaking, the treaties require, and they are universal, that the information should be shared with a tax court, which means a court after investigation where a prosecution or some other proceedings are filed against a person. Because the idea is that when you file proceedings against a person, after verification that the man has got illegal or tainted money, then filing in court itself is a public issue or a public document and therefore make it public. While on the other hand, to publish names without any verification causes a very serious invasion of privacy of those who have a genuine explanation for an account. And as you know, it is not illegal for any Indian to open an account, and therefore this is recognized as a part of fundamental rights under our constitution.
So let me just try and understand what you're saying. You seem to be saying that at first you've got to establish that this is black money. You've got to establish whether there's something illegal about that particular account, and only then should you disclose any details about the account. Otherwise it's an invasion of privacy and so on and so forth.
Idea is not to have just media frenzy or adventurism. That doesn't help, because we are a part of an international fora. If that is how the treaties have to be honored, then either they are honored or not honored at all. There is no midway. And I must tell you that after we got 26 accounts of Liechtenstein from Germany, it was found that 18 were tainted after verification and 8 were genuine. Yet there was a complete disclosure of all 26, and Germany has asked us to explain how there has been a disclosure of all 26. That's number one. Number two, I have read that the Swiss authorities have again asked the government of India after the court hearings of yesterday and day before yesterday.
So Mukul, I'm just again trying to confirm the specifics of what you're saying. You're saying that any sharing in any form, and that's what the foreign governments are also saying, any sharing in any form is wrong until that first the diligence has been done to establish its black money. Is that the essence of what you're saying?
Even when these accounts came to India from the government of France in 2011, the French insisted on very, very specific sovereign assurances of confidentiality, which was given by government of India. I have seen those letters, and only thereupon the French government gave it.
Okay, so just wanted to ask you, these 627 names that are actually subject of discussion at least this week, How many of them, to your mind, therefore, has any work been done, any diligence been done? How many of them are genuine accounts? How many of them are not actually black money? How many of them could potentially be black money? What exactly are we talking about when we are referring to this list of 627?
Broadly, I have told the Supreme Court that firstly, we had given the list to the SIT in June itself. We have not hidden anything. The government of India does not want to protect anybody. That's number one. Number two, broadly, 50% of the accounts are, account holders are non-resident Indians who are entitled per se to have an account. So you are left with about 350 odd names. Out of 350, investigation has commenced into all the accounts. A few of them, or I don't know the actual number, will be found to be genuine. For example, there are cases where an account is opened by the father or the grandfather without the knowledge of the progeny. That person is dead and then the beneficiaries are entitled. Now, if the beneficiaries haven't opened an account, they cannot be prosecuted, but obviously they will be obliged to pay tax. And lastly, you must know, and as I told the court, that the last date for us, that is under the Income Tax Act, to finalize all assessments under the Income Tax Act of all these cases is March 31, 2015. If we are not able to do that, the guillotine falls and there can be no assessment. Such limitation cannot be extended under any circumstances. Therefore, there is no way that the investigation will be open-ended. It has to conclude with an investigation and assessment.
You know, Mukul, I get all that, but before I start the debate out here, I just wanted to, everything that you are saying, surely this was known in the past, when you had the NDA attacking the UPA and saying, why are you guys not getting the black money back? Why are you not releasing the names? Why? This was all known earlier also. So why is it that suddenly the government seems to have woken up and saying, oh, you know, this is what we've suddenly found and there are these agreements. So what you're saying, how is it different to what the UPA was saying earlier?
See, these accounts came in 2011. I don't know what was done between 11 and 14. But I must tell you, the first thing which this government did after taking over in the end of May was to constitute the members of the SIT, which was hanging fire for so long. The SIT itself was not constituted. That gave rise to suspicion in the minds of public that the earlier government was not moving forward, even though the SIT was conceived in the year 2012. So after the SIT was conceived, it is headed by two respected judges of the Supreme Court who know the law. Things are moving forward, and I heard the SIT member saying that by end of November, the report is called by the Supreme Court, a large number of investigations will be completed. And in any case, as I told you, now there is no leeway whether somebody wants or somebody doesn't want. Everything on this list has to be completed by 31st of March. There is no other list with the Government of India. There may be individual names coming under different treaties, as I have told you, but as far as the list is concerned, there was one German/Liechtenstein list. The other list is this list. There is no other list.
All right, Mukul Rohatgi there. Now let me now come to all of us out here. We heard what Mukul Rohatgi just said to me a short while earlier when I interviewed him. I can see Dr. Ajay Kumar, you know, looking somewhat indignant and saying that if this is what they had to say when the UPA was saying all of this, why were they coming after us with an axe?
What is also scary is, you know, they keep saying the SIT was being formed. SIT was, by the Supreme Court, was ordered on the 1st of May. Now, you might look at it as a position, but the Government of India, the UPA government, formed a high-level committee which had the Enforcement Directorate, the CBDT, the CBEC, and the CBI.
I mean, look, let's face it, that the UPA government didn't go very far on this.
No, but once
now, the NDA now seems to be saying, well, there were good reasons they didn't disclose the names.
I just need 30 seconds of indulgence. First question was, what are the new names they've got onto the list? And what's scary is what the Attorney General is saying is that that's all we need to do. If it doesn't finish by March 2015, those guys will get scot-free.
My bigger question is only 627 names. What about all the names that are sitting in Switzerland? There are hundreds and thousands of names, and I think all of us want to know what's happening with them.
I want to give you an input. There is a very interesting article that most of the money actually goes to the city of London. Okay. And London is so, you know, the whole country is going on a wild goose chase. One is that most of the black money is in India. Certain amount of black money is there. Then to go after this crazy thing called Swiss bank and make it political.
Let me get the others in. Prashant Bhushan, let me come to you.
Information from Germany or from France about the Liechtenstein accounts or the HSBC accounts have not come under the double taxation treaty. In fact, the Supreme Court examined this issue as to whether the double taxation treaty or any confidentiality clause in the Indo-German treaty applies to this information which has been received about the Liechtenstein accounts from Germany, and they rejected that and they said this does not apply. They still said, yes, there is, however, an issue of privacy of individuals who legitimately hold accounts, and therefore accounts of those individuals which are found to be prima facie illegal should be released by the government, because all legal account holders have to disclose their accounts to the Reserve Bank. If they have not disclosed those accounts, then they are prima facie deemed to be illegal. Okay. Many of these people were examined by the Income Tax Department in 2011 itself, who had admitted to having these accounts and the illegality of these accounts. Even those names have not been released. We had held a press conference 2 years ago in which we had released the statements of 3 of these people, as well as the names of at least 10 other people,
but you know, Prashant,
who held
Prashant,
accounts
one of
in
the
the
issues
HSBC which were illegal.
But Prashant, I think, and one of the issues could be, and let me come to you, Pinky, on this is, so what Mukul said is fine, some due diligence needs to be done. But Prashant is saying is it shouldn't have been that difficult by now to have done some diligence and said, well, these seem to be okay, we won't disclose these are dodgy, let's either investigate them further or...
No, Vikram, I mean, understanding what you're saying, you're perfectly right. And in fact, I don't know why the attention is not being focused on the fact that what are prima facie legal accounts, which we are entitled to hold as Indians abroad or non-resident Indians, whichever the case may be, just as much as we declare and the money is taxable. I mean, what is all this hue and cry about releasing the names? The point is,
but the BJP was creating this hue and cry also when the Congress was running the government.
No, that's not the point. The point is today, when we are talking about the entire issue, are we talking about bringing the black money back or releasing the names of these people? A. B, in any kind of even criminal...
Let's discuss both in turn, because they are slightly linked. Let's first look at the names and then we look at the broader issue.
Well,
how do you
as far as the names are concerned, what we have discussed at various levels is the right of privacy. If it is a legitimate account, then why should that person be left to be exposed to the public hue and cry? And it's not so simple to say he can explain himself away. Similarly, even in a criminal case, for example, when you have prosecution, you have the report of an investigation being filed. You don't need to indicate and put it at large, put out a red corner notice literally to say this person has an account. Whether it is legal or illegal, we'll ascertain that later. But right now, here you have the names, and then everybody go to town and cry about it. So that's one aspect. The fundamental right of privacy and the fundamental right of legitimacy that one would have. We can't throw everything to the winds.
Dr. Swamy, I'm not completely convinced whether your views in this are entirely match the rest of the parties or not.
What do you mean by that? How would you know what the party view is?
Because you just written a letter to the
I
Prime
have. That is allowed in our party.
But this
is not Congress party that you can't write to the president of the party.
You don't know the consequence of writing that letter, sir.
Okay, but hang on.
Well, we don't have consequences like your party. See, yours is a one-woman party. Ours is not a one-woman party.
I was scared that it will get academic.
Okay. Is the BJP right now suddenly finding itself a bit like some of the statements which it was making in the opposition? Like having had great fun while the CAG was coming out with reports and saying 1,76,000 and so on and so forth. We suddenly have Arun Jaitley saying the CAG numbers should not become the cause of media headlines. And similarly, why aren't names being released? These are some of the issues that the BJP took advantage of when you were in the opposition, which are not that comfortable now that you're in the government.
There are 70 countries where you have secret banking. Now, what the government has got is essentially from 2 banks and some piddling numbers from Switzerland. Now, these 2 accounts were not by government's own efforts. In fact, it was the effort of the German government and the French government. And when the German government got the CD, how did they get the CD of all the accounts? By bribing an official. They didn't get it on some bilateral agreement or anything with Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein actually refused to give it. So then they bribed the official, and the official then gave, and they bribed him $500 million, and he gave the entire CD. Then they selected it by, sorted it out by countries, and then India turned out to have 26. They asked India whether they would take like to see. We didn't agree. We just kept quiet. Then the Supreme Court had to direct the government to get those names. So that's the first thing that the Congress party did. It refused to give. Second, then the French, without asking our permission, sent us the name I believe of nearly 800. I don't know where the 627 name came. That's something which we'll examine later.
You see that 150 names has disappeared somewhere along the way.
No, they had an amnesty plan for about 100. And those names, I don't know whether they are there. But now, coming to the point, the entire argument of the Attorney General is based on the principle that we are examining it from the income tax point of view. Now, the evasion of income is black money, but it's a small part of the total black money. The major portion is from scams, from drug running, from crime, from terrorist financing. That is guided by the United Nations resolution of 2005, which says that no country shall put any conditions in sharing this data. And within the end of this year, it is going to become automatic. If you come into information, you have to automatically share.
But the basic point that he is making still is, if I understood him correctly, is you've got to first do the due diligence.
First of all, when you get these names, you ask the income tax and the Reserve Bank, has these been informed to you? Because income tax, even though you can open an account abroad, but in the annual income tax returns you have to report it. Correct. Has it been reported? Now, also there are a number of other foreign accounts which are outside this system. Take for Hassan Ali. And I myself have written a letter to the SIT and the Finance Ministry giving names of 2 bank accounts where and they are very prominent politicians. I said they operate these 2 accounts, and that information is with the Enforcement Directorate.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the SIT doesn't have an independent investigating agency. They have to rely on the government, and the government has been slow.
Okay.
You see all the money which goes out genuinely, legitimately, you were allowed to send out $200,000 a year. Now it is reduced to $125,000. Every year, average $2 billion was going out. So all that money which goes out, you have to furnish your PAN account before you get your RBI permission.
That's a legitimate money.
Yeah, that's money which is also sitting in Swiss banks or wherever. So it's not all money has come from scams. That money, that details
but
of that is...
But that's a small fraction of what, if you hear some of the numbers,
but
I think Dr. Swami was using a number of $2 trillion
Dr. Swami has got, astronomical figures,
I got my figures, you have your own figures, you give it.
But the Swiss bank, National Bank, has said that there is 14,100 crores at the end of 2013.
Where?
In Swiss banks.
In Swiss banks. As 70 countries and the man doesn't pay attention.
As opposed to 8,500 the previous year. That means there's an addition of 6,000 crores. Now you can easily cross-check. You don't even have to get court permission. The PAN numbers are there. The IT people have the PAN numbers. The banks have the PAN numbers. And so you know what's legitimate and what's not. So if what is left over has gone by other means, okay, then you can look at that. But I think this whole thing is now flaring up because the BJP made a huge hue and cry over this thing that we will get it back to you. We will get everybody will deposit 15 lakhs in their bank accounts when all this money comes back, and now they're embarrassed because they see
I'm not at all embarrassed. What do you mean?
You will never be embarrassed.
Of course I'm not. You should be embarrassed because you work for a foundation which is financed by a bank holder.
I don't work for the foundation.
Yes.
I don't work for the foundation.
Observer Foundation is financed by whom?
I know who you are financed by. So let's
all right, you tell that.
Yeah. So
you tell that.
How आपकी government
in my case I have pointed out who you are financed by.
And you also
go and tell the authorities who is financing me. Instead of making all these...
No.
As far as you are concerned, you are financed by an industrialist who has a bank account abroad and he's not declared it.
Okay, I don't work for the foundation. I don't get paid by them. I have an honorary position that is separate. But Swami is a different case by himself. This is his business.
Of course I am.
He has no income, no known income, but he has properties. He has everything.
Yes, the government. You please go and tell the government. They haven't been able to find anything. Instead of making wild statements.
So he is something else. You can't go by these wild figures. Ramdev said this, Guru Murthy said, this $10 trillion abroad. These are absurd figures. After all, there's not that much of money supply in the economy. You don't print that many notes.
Let me get you in on this.
We all know that in 2006 this data was stolen, and we got this data from the French government and from the German government. Now, what is this information which is data this contains? This is not a bank statement. This contains only the name of the account holder, account number, probably a balance of some transaction somewhere, one indication, and the bank in which it is, HSBC or HSN Bank. This is the information. This information came in possession of the Government of India in the year 2011 and under a bilateral treaty only, this is DTAAA. And the condition for giving this information was that this will be used for only tax purposes, and that treaty provides that once you establish that there is a criminality involved in this, then you can go ahead with this. The Government of India got it, gave it to the Directorate of Investigation, Income Tax Department. They carried out the searches at various places. Mr. Prashant Bhushan was also referring to the people. They carried out the searches. All these people denied that they are having any bank account, except few people which agreed and gave a statement that yes, we are having a bank. Now the issue which arises is that the Income Tax Department is now with this data for the last 3 years, and despite their best effort, they have not been able to obtain the bank account and detail from the HSBC or HSN. They have been writing letter to those authorities, writing to Swiss bank people, Swiss authorities also. They are not sharing the information. Now that is why the investigations are not going on. Issue is, what evidence as on date, even for a minute, I say out of 627 accounts, you say 300 accounts are NRA accounts, you can't disclose it because these are a legitimate account and you are duty bound that you can't disclose it. 350, no, you say 350 are illegitimate account and you declare yes, these people are having bank account. Now how do you will establish in the court of law that these accounts are illegal account and this is a material evidence?
They haven't disclosed it.
They don't know. Now what is the evidence with you? You say that you are having, the person says I don't have the bank account. You have only the information that they were having. There is no evidence. You have to go to that bank, HSBC. You have to go to Legislative Bank to obtain the bank statement. That's a crucial issue.
I have to clarify one point. He said that we got this under DTAA. That's what you said. Actually, we applied for these under DTAA, which was a wrong thing to do, because they had got it on bribery and there was no clamps on them. But instead they wrote to these various countries saying that we want it under DTAA.
So then therefore the provisions of that kick in. But Prasenjit, let me get you in on that.
I want to draw your attention to the fact that in May 2012, the government came up with a white paper on black money. What did it show? From 2006, they are saying, in 2006 there was over 20,000 crore rupees lying in the Swiss banks. By 2010, it had come down to less than 10,000 crore. So 10,000 crore rupees went away. So the same thing is happening now. People who have these illegal accounts are being allowed to siphon the money out of Switzerland into some other place. And there are very powerful interests across the political spectrum who are working to protect these people. That is the first point which I want to make. The second, so the speed of investigation itself, I think, shows complicity with the black money account holders and very powerful interests within our system. Second point is that there were many other lists also. The French government came out with a list, the German government gave a list, and the government had recovered some small amount already from those people. Now this HSBC list, I think there is something fishy here, because 3 names have already come up. Out of that one person, the Timbo thing in Goa, they have contributed over 1 crore rupees to the BJP and over 50 lakh rupees to the Congress. So the complicity is very clear. Both of these
hang on. Just because somebody makes a donation to a political party or 10 political parties,
a donation? Wait. Supposing, wait, hang on, Vikram, hang on.
I mean, I know people are not donating too much to the left anymore, but that's not.
If I take a check of 1 crore rupees, if I take a check of 1 crore rupees from Dawood Ibrahim for my political activities, how would you react?
Wait, hang on. I'm not holding no brief for the person, but I'm just saying
wait.
Because the person made a political donation, how are you assuming the person is a criminal? Hang on. Can I please ask, can I get some legal opinion on this?
He has
been get sued by somebody, some legal opinion. Pinky, please.
Present is assuming that 1 plus 0 is equal to 10. And 10 plus 0 is equal to 100, and he assumes everything on that basis. Even anybody can give legitimate money to any political party or any other, even NGO for that matter, take anybody. There's no illegality in that.
So that
maybe that somebody else is having any other illegal transaction. Really, you can't take everything into your own hand and say the cat came before the horse or the horse came before the cart. I mean, whichever way you go.
Yeah, Prasenjit, hang on. Can I
you defend such people.
No, hang on. Prasenjit, just 2 minutes.
No, please, you didn't allow me to finish my point, Vikram.
Yeah, Prasenjit, hang on. Part of the point that was being made by Mukul Rohatgi, and I'm going to actually play something else that he said also. Look, everyone is outraged about the fact that there's black money. That is correct. We have to get the black money back. That's also correct. We should crack down on the black money within the country, which I don't know how large it is. It may well be larger than all these sums that are being spoken about. However, there's a danger in today's era of media outrage and the outrage industry that we've been able to build up, that you should be able to distinguish what's right from wrong. You cannot also be making allegations and accusations unless you know that somebody is guilty. Otherwise, potentially it could damage the entire effort.
This is all rubbish.
What the Attorney General is
Vikram, there is an entire basis.
What you are saying is rubbish.
There is a basis.
No, this is all rubbish. I am saying this is all rubbish.
What is all rubbish? That you should prove that somebody is guilty before saying they're guilty.
Listen to me what I am saying. You listen, allow me to make my point.
Okay, make your point.
If you have a legitimate account in the Swiss bank,
yes,
why would you fear your name coming out? You say
absolutely. Why should anybody's name be given out? It is preposterous.
No, hang on.
Yes, that is the point.
Why Swiss account? Why not Indian account? Indicate everybody's name.
Prasenjit, you may have a legitimate account, Prasenjit.
Vikram's account should be made public. Why?
No, Prasenjit, you may have a perfectly legal account.
Arun Jaitley said the Congress will be embarrassed if the names come out.
Vikram, can I just ask a small question from you?
Not black money, this is blackmail.
Prasenjit, can I ask you a small question? Your party in the last 2 years of its existence has taken this donation from the various persons. Maybe small amount or maybe larger amount. Tomorrow, by chance, one person is found that he who has contributed to your party has also have a foreign bank account which is illegal. Then we should say that your party was also a party to that foreign bank account?
Any political party that has taken donations from some shady individuals, those
how do you prove the person is a shady individual just because the person has a bank account?
So therefore,
Prasenjit,
there are close on all parties.
And let me get Prashant
I don't
in on this.
understand what you are actually saying.
Prashant, help us understand this. What Prasenjit is saying is that if any political party has taken a donation from somebody, the premise is really, is that person a shady person? Just by having a bank account, including a foreign bank account, I think the question is whether that proves that that person is a quote-unquote shady
illegal foreign
individual.
bank account, not legal, illegal.
Yes, if it's a legitimate bank account, then should you have the right to say that that should not be disclosed because of privacy? It's nobody's business, it's a legitimate account, I don't want it to be known and I should be entitled to my privacy on that. Is that a legitimate position? That's the first question. And secondly, if it's not a legitimate one which has been disclosed, then what should be done to that person?
Right to privacy is overridden by larger considerations of public interest. Suppose we have a situation as we have today, that the government is not investigating the legality of these accounts. For 3 years they have been sitting on this information. They have been granting amnesty to various people, not really determining whose accounts are illegal or not. And meanwhile the country is being looted by illegal money being siphoned out, then laundered, brought back, etc. In my view, the overriding consideration of public interest here is that the people of this country should know as to who are the holders of these accounts, even if it means that the names of some legitimate account holders will also be revealed. Because as I said, the right to privacy is a weak right and it is overridden by considerations of public interest. Here there is overwhelming public interest for disclosure of these accounts. Secondly, you see, if the government was serious about getting back this money or tracking down these people and prosecuting them, I had written to the Prime Minister in early June that they need to do the following things. Firstly, they need to block the avenues of holding black money in India itself, such as participatory notes, such as investments from companies registered in tax havens whose owners or whose shareholders are not disclosed to the Indian authorities. Yes. Secondly, they need to also pass a law which can be done by an ordinance in one day, obliging all Indian citizens, whether residents or non-residents, to disclose all their assets held abroad.
Yeah, so
With that disclosure, they can go to the Swiss government, or the Mauritius government, use the UN Convention Against Corruption and say that, look, these are the people who have disclosed assets in your country. Please find out if there, if there are other persons who are holding accounts and assets in your country, and give them to us, because they will be deemed to be laundered money and liable for confiscation.
Okay, so coming now to the question of how you get the money back, that's not entirely dissimilar, Dr. Swami, to what you've written to the Prime Minister on the 29th of October, where you also are asking, like as Prashant was saying, you said there should be an ordinance, I think you were saying, adopt Fali Nariman's private members bill, saying that all illicit wealth is therefore national wealth, and so on and so forth. You've got a number of possible suggestions that you think he should do, including the scrapping of the participatory note scheme.
That's right. Once you have agreed that there is black money in substantial amounts abroad, we have to devise ways to get it back. This DTAA is a total red herring. The Supreme Court dismissed it, by the way, on the hearing last time. And Mr. Jethmalani had got up, in fact, to make this point. It is only if a resident Indian works abroad and doesn't declare income tax there or here, so both country governments have to collaborate to see whether that has happened or not, whether he's paid his taxes. It does not apply to money made from scams and drug running, etc. There are no limitations whatsoever between government cooperation.
Okay. Can I, Ajay, just ask you on the broader question which was being discussed at both Prashant and Prasenjit? They said, what they seem to be saying is that public interest overrides the right to privacy.
I don't know if you remember the chain of events when the names were leaked, the first 3 names were leaked, and if you look at Timlo or Burman or the third person, one thing very obvious was they were soft targets, from a perspective of whether, and so we kept insisting, and they were soft targets because, so we kept insisting on releasing all the 800 names. And the issue, I think, is fundamentally is that, like,
Arun Jaitley says that list might embarrass the Congress party.
And again, when Mr. Timlo's name comes out, then they don't seem to get embarrassed according to their calculations. So it's a very strange way of their perception that, who will get embarrassed, who will not. But the way they went about it, and I think that is the issue. You bring transparency. We keep saying that if anybody is guilty, you take action against them. But the larger question is the political atmospherics. They went across the country saying 15 lakh har aadmi ke account mein wapis laenge. They knew the facts. They knew that this was not true.
My point is that supposing an individual X has a bank account in Switzerland which is legitimate, even if it comes out in the public domain and then it will obviously get proved that it is a legitimate account. What is the problem?
This whole assumption is saying you first get the name, then prove that the person is guilty, and then going a reverse and saying, sorry, we were wrong. How can that work? You have to have prosecutable evidence against somebody before you can proceed against.
So I tell you,
but those names are already with the authority.
The burden of proof should be on the account holder.
Okay, so Prasenjit, actually, I want to play one more from my interview with Mukul Rohatgi. There's one more question that I asked.
But there was another small point. There is another small point.
Can I come back to the book?
You see, this.
Can I come back to you?
What is the BJP doing about the Mauritius route? I think that is a very important question.
Yeah, one second.
That is how black money comes back to India.
Okay, fair enough. Can I just come back to one more question relating to on this particular point though? Is there any harm? Is damage done if you are taking any of these steps? So I did ask Mukul Rohatgi that question and say that at the end, because people are saying, as we just heard from both Prashant and Prasenjit, how does at the end of the day give the names and after that we will see what happens. What would be the consequences really if this happened? That was another question that I threw to Mukul Rohatgi. This was his answer.
Out of the 3 names which were disclosed 5 days ago, one particular account was not out of this list but came from another country under another treaty where the tax authorities of that country found something suspicious in that account, namely heavy withdrawals or heavy infusions, and they asked the government of India to have a look. On that basis, we had a look and verification was done, notice was given to the party, etc., and it was decided that that account is illegal. You must also remember that we have a large number of treaties. Some treaties are those where we have to make a specific request for a specific individual. Some treaties have a system called spontaneous information. Whole world is moving towards treaties which will have automatic exchange of information, which means, as we are going to do with America, which means that all resident Indians having accounts in the US and vice versa, all their banking transactions on a daily basis will be shared. Now, if we have to do that, same confidentiality is there. That is how it is understood across the world, that the Western world also requests privacy of genuine account holders, and so does the constitution of this country. And therefore, in a spirit of one has to have caution rather than adventurism, because otherwise if all the sources dry up, you're going to kill the golden goose.
One more concern expressed there by Mukul Rohatgi, and why we need to be careful. Again, I'm saying that I'm sure a lot of this was known earlier as well, but I want to take a break, come back to the audience and get final thoughts from everybody. Given all that we've heard so far, I still don't think we've got any clear ideas on what can be done to get that black money back. So are there any suggestions? Well, there seem to be lots of issues as to why we can't do A or B. Mukul Rohatgi says that there may be some things that will come that will automatically help us get the money back. Is that the way forward, or can we all come up with a better scheme? That when we return in just a couple of minutes on The Big Fight. Welcome back to The Big Fight. Well, let me now turn to the audience, because when they'd heard Prime Minister Modi saying that if the black money is stashed in foreign banks abroad is brought back and distributed to every poor person, then every poor person is going to get 3 lakh rupees each or something like that. I think it was 15 lakhs each. Well, okay, even better. So if any of you were expecting that, I hate to break it to you, it doesn't look as if it's happening just yet. So please do not go out and bust up any money or buy lots of phones expecting that money. It's not going to happen just tomorrow. So, some thoughts, yeah.
So, I think the real reasons behind this political outrage for the revelation of names is this. Firstly, the HSBC Bank of Geneva had given the names to all the countries in 2011, and while the other countries have been able to recover some amount of the black money, India hasn't. And secondly, the entire BJP's prime ministerial campaign was focused on this issue of black money. So, don't you think the real reason why the public is so outraged and there is this entire shift of focus from bringing back the black money to the revelation of names is actually because of the glaring inefficiencies on the part of the government?
Okay.
Why only 627 names? The list contains 780 names. Why is government hiding
the... He himself said we're not very sure with some of the names.
Why is government hiding 153 people? And one more question. Why only naming of few lesser known businessmen? Why not politicians?
The lady here. Yeah.
I think it's about time that we rise above the whole discussion of whether we're invading somebody's privacy or not, and actually focus on how the government is trying to channelize the money that we hope gets recovered.
That's right.
Yeah. So as you said, that privacy is not more important than the nation, and the money should be back in India. That's more important.
Yeah.
So what is the logic behind these investigations getting completed by March 2015? Otherwise, everyone gets scot-free. So this sounds like a instrument for shielding the people with black money.
Well, no, actually, there are time-bound treaties. Okay, let me just come back to all of you. So, audience, and I'm sure a lot of viewers are wondering when their 3 lakh or 5 lakhs are arriving in their bank account. So, if at all it is, it doesn't look very, very probable. But let me come to all of you, perhaps. Very briefly, any concrete suggestions on how we can get that black money back? That's the biggest question. How do you punish those who've got it? How do you get it back? I mean, for example, is a voluntary disclosure scheme something which is good? I think you were suggesting have a 40% tax and get the money back.
See, the issue as on date very important is that the money is outside. We must keep this in mind. What we have a list, disclosure or non-disclosure is not important. Important is how to get the money back.
Very quickly,
and if the money is abroad, we need a cooperation of that state, that government. We need a cooperation of that bank. Without the cooperation of that bank, without the cooperation of that government, we can't do anything. We can't bring the money back. It can't come out like this, that government of India say, give me back this money. That's why we need to follow the international law. What Mr. Prashant Bhushan Prasanjit was saying, that disclose the name of those people who are legitimate also. But the question is that the treaty says and the information says that this information is legitimate. How you can disclose it? If you violate the law in this manner, international law, You will never be able to go to that government, please give me this money, even of those person whose money is illegitimate money.
Let me just go across both to Prasenjit and to Prashant on that.
No. It is all
Prasenjit,
wrong argument. Yeah.
Wrong argument. Why is it a wrong argument? Don't you need the cooperation? I mean, about India is going to invade Switzerland and
Because
get
if
the
I
money
have
out.
nothing to hide, if I am honest, I will have nothing to hide. Vikram, please ask that gentleman, to find out how the United States of America, how the United Kingdom, how France, how Germany, all of them got the money out of these tax
Let me clarify to you. Let me clarify to you.
All right.
Each of the country came out with an amnesty scheme. Each of the country came out with an amnesty scheme. During this period, you bring this money back.
Listen. You please listen. You had your say. Now please listen to what I am suggesting. My point is, there is a simple solution. The government should announce an end date within, say, 1 month, 2 months, and ask all Indian citizens to disclose what are the wherewithal of the, the details of their foreign bank accounts, with the assumption that those who are honest, those who have legitimate bank accounts will tell the government that we have this bank account, this is legal money. Whatever else is there, that should be confiscated through an act or ordinance passed in the parliament.
And how the foreign government is going to implement it? How the government is going to implement your law?
The foreign government should be told. The foreign government should be told. That is government
There is already a
of
law
India's
under the
money.
Income
That
Tax
is
Act
government of
amended
India's
in the year
money.
2012.
That is government of India's money. It is our national wealth.
You need a cooperation with the government.
Okay.
You have to have that political will.
Prasenjit,
And you are defending the illegal account holders.
Okay, Prasenjit, fine. Let me get a
Vikram, just
No,
one
hang
thing.
on.
Vikram, just one thing I want to say.
Can it be done legally?
If you have the monies outside, irrespective of your ordinance, let us assume you have an ordinance in place, how is the money going to come back?
Okay, no, so much.
You have to be relying on multilateral automatic transmissions and international
How do
cooperation.
you identify that bank account?
Fair enough. Two steps. Two parts to what Prasenjit said. Number one, let's look at the first part. And I think it's not entirely, maybe it's somewhat similar to what Prashant and Dr. Sami also are saying. I'll just come to them. He says, if you have a legitimate account, declare it right now. Now, anything which is not there in this particular list of accounts, because these are people who declared it, this is legitimate, for the sake of argument. Anything outside this list is therefore automatically now confiscated and is the property of the government of India because it's illegitimate because you haven't declared it.
Yes.
Now you have to figure out how to get the money back from countries abroad.
Can I just pause for a moment
Is
and
the
get
first
you back?
part possible
I
or
get
is
you
it
back.
neither of them is possible?
It's a very interesting suggestion, should be looked into. But I'm saying there's another part to it. December 30th, 2014, you're going to have to be entering into this agreement with America. And with this kind of treaty, you have automatic disclosure. What heavens are falling? We have these options. You will have automatic, it's not only with the US. It is applicable to all the countries. It's a multilateral situation. So you will have automatic disclosure in any case.
This is the law of the land today.
Today the entire obsession of everybody, including the conversations even here with some people, is disclose the names. Let us say the names are disclosed. What will happen? Are people going to get together, hang them and put them right in the gallery? What happened?
This is already the law.
Sorry, let me just get everyone else in here.
This is already the law.
What is already
that you
the law?
can't keep money, illegally earned money abroad. It's already there. But the point is that, nobody, no politician, no industrialist, no smuggler who's taken money and kept it abroad is going to bring it back voluntarily. Okay? It's not going to happen. You might have people...
should have an amnesty scheme.
No, I'm not saying amnesty. Even if you give an amnesty scheme, because he'll have to account for it here. How did he get that money? That's a declaration of, culpability and his guilt. So he will not give it. So it's sitting there abroad. The only way to tighten up that is that you establish that so-and-so is a criminal, so-and-so is a crook, take his name and say, I want details of what his accounts, and then prosecute, which is what the United States does. It says, this man is in numbers racket, this man is in drugs, and we want details of his accounts, and you go and get it.
Just
say something that I want to go to.
Yeah. The issue is, Income Tax Act was amended in the year 2012. Even as on date, every Indian resident, Indian citizen is supposed to declare a foreign financial asset, which includes
even if it doesn't do it, it should be confiscated.
It can be, but the issue is how do you will identify that bank account? How do you will identify that financial asset? That is a challenge.
Prashant, whole business about amending the double taxation treaties is a red herring and taking the country into a wild goose chase. If the government were serious about cracking down on this illicit money, it first has to close the avenues for holding illicit money in India itself, which includes participatory notes and investment through these tax haven companies where you don't even disclose the shareholders, etc. Secondly, you pass this law saying that all Indians have to disclose their assets abroad. Those assets which are not disclosed are deemed to be laundered money and liable for confiscation. Then you use the UN Convention Against Corruption, not the Double Taxation Treaty. Use the UN Convention Against Corruption, which binds all these countries, and ask these countries to give information about those Indian citizens who have not declared their accounts or their assets abroad, and then confiscate those.
What's wrong with what he just said?
Audience vote on confiscation.
First of all,
audience will agree with you.
What Prashant says is, I won't add to it because it makes sense from a UN Convention on Corruption. But the important part is, in this list of 800, there are people who avoided tax, and they may have made it through legitimate business means, but avoided tax. Those are, you deal with them as a tax avoidance issue. But there are a large number of people who have done it through corruption. They don't have a legitimate source of income. Go after those guys first, the big fish, who don't have a legitimate source of income, who have no explanation why they made that money. So don't confuse the nation by saying it's a tax issue. Because I make 20,000 crores through corruption and say, Bhai Sahab, I'll give you 6,000 crores because I owe you 6,000 crores in tax.
Yeah, you can't pay the tax.
So, and that's where corruption. So that is why we are getting confused on this whole issue. It's
confiscation. Confiscation is
so,
the solution.
And it's
yes, Prasanjit, we all agree with you. Confiscate it. We're trying to figure out how to confiscate it.
And the last point.
All undeclared.
Prasanjit, we've all agreed with you. We want to confiscate it. Now we're trying to figure out how to do it.
The last point is, a lot of this money comes to political, and one of the biggest mistakes which has happened by the Election Commission is to not to keep a limit on political funding by parties to expend.
Okay.
So that's where, so whole thing, dovetails in.
All right. Final word. We are flat out of time. Dr. Sami, tell us what to do. And if you're also backing Prasanjit in his confiscation, how do you confiscate?
Well, he's a communist, so he's always for confiscation. So I'm not a communist. Mubarak of Egypt, Gaddafi, Marcos, all their accounts were disclosed. There was never any question of there being secrecy, bilateral agreement, none of that. There are methods which are being used today by the United States against the Swiss banks to get 5,635 accounts of their own citizens. There is none of these agreements have been used. I agree with Prashant that this DTAA is a total red herring. It is a small part of the black money. The remainder is not subject to any restrictions, and therefore,
so use the convention on corruption instead to get the money back.
Either you are not familiar with how to get it, or you don't want to get it. But if you want to get it, it can be done.
All right. So lots of interesting ideas, and we haven't even yet scratched the surface of the other big issue, which maybe we should do a separate big fight on. What do we do about the black money in this country? There's probably shoals of that money. I mean, whatever the money is abroad, there must be equal amount, if not more, right here within the country. And how do you get all of that out?
Without any sources of income and multiple houses.
So all of that has to be figured out as well. So we will continue this debate. I'm glad that the discussion has started in full earnest. This is obviously something which the entire country should be really exercised about. And let's see what's actually done on this issue. You're watching The Big Fight. We'll be back again next week.
And you're watching NDTV 24x7.